Hello, my name is Shathess Rao, and today me and my team from Group Phantom are going to present our asset management project, which is titled Decommissioning of Asset. The term decommissioning can be defined as the future dismantling and removal of production, equipment, and infrastructure. There are two types of decommissioning, which is normal decommissioning and forced decommissioning. For normal decommissioning, forced decommissioning for decommissioning of car. The owner of the car can be decommissioned at any time when the car is unused or no longer can be used. Forced decommissioning, carried out by regulatory authorities for several reasons, such as the vehicle tax was not paid. The asset that we have chose is the car. Background of asset. This car was purchased on the year 1999. Number of owners are 5 and the number of crashes are none. This shows that the 5 previous owners have taken really good care of the vehicle. The last service date for the car is on the 27/10/2010. Reason of decommissioning. TUV and AU certification of the asset have expired. The vehicle tax was not paid. No insurance premiums have been paid or the insurance cover has expired. A defective vehicle that is not roadworthy. Vehicle is not returned to the new owner. VW exhaust scandal. Vehicles can also be affected. That is all from my part. Thank you. I'll pass on to the next person.
Hello and good day. My name is Siti Nurfatimah Zahra Binti Norhisham. As for my part, I will be talking about the processes involved in asset decommissioning. There are a lot of processes involved in asset decommissioning. But before we start, what is the real definition of asset decommissioning? Decommissioning purposes can be complex, requiring careful planning and management by specialist asset recovery companies to ensure efficient and safe completion. The first step to decommission is the decision to decommission. Decommissioning needs to be grounded in a sound and wide-ranging understanding of current and future user needs. The application can be done by the vehicle's owner or anyone that has an authority over the vehicle. Applications can be done at any available JPJ state office that carries out vehicle registration transactions. Next is to conduct the motor vehicle survey or inspection. Inspection findings for contractor activities conducted under the site operator's license, such as Perdua, Proton, and many more, and supervision shall be documented against the site operator's program. Firstly, the vehicle needs to not be blacklisted by the JPJ or PDRM. Other than that, there shouldn't be any demands of ownership from different parties. Last but not least is getting approval for decommissioning. The inventory should be sent to all relevant directors and managers to review and approve. For a motor vehicle case, when it has reached the end of its useful life, the method of decommissioning needs to be decided. For a motor vehicle, there are many ways of decommissioning. Trading in for a new vehicle or money is one type. For this type of vehicle decommissioning, the original owner needs to come to an agreement with the company or individual they are reselling the vehicle to. Upon agreement, the vehicle needs to be sent to Pusat Pemeriksaan Kenderaan Berkomputer, Puspakom, for inspection because the vehicle can only be sold once certified Puspakom inspection forms have been granted to the owner. Some fees and agent's fees, if only one is used, will be incurred. There will be a few paperwork that will need to be signed off by the original owner, and the buyer related to the bank Assoc needs to be settled. Upon the paperwork signing off, the change of ownership can be finalized and officialized. Next is scraping the vehicle. Scraping of vehicle is usually the method used when a vehicle is damaged beyond repair. Before the dismantling process, the bonnet has to be removed and the battery needs to be detached from the vehicle. Every pipe and wire needs to be removed from the engine, and all fluids such as diesel fuel, coolant, hydraulic fluids, and transmission fluids needs to be drained out. Afterwards, the engine can be removed from the vehicle by connecting it back to the engine jack. The engine is one of the equipment that can be kept and sold individually if it is still working properly. Otherwise, it can be sold into parts after dismantling process is done. After complete decommissioning, there is a process of vehicle selling of the aftermarket equipment. The first step is to prevent waste once the decommissioning process starts. This is aimed at reducing the possible formation waste. Second is R3WE. Recycling and reuse of the materials is the first, which relates back to the first process. Second is waste recovery for reuse, and last is the waste for energy production, which is heat and hot water. The third step is to recycle any parts from the decommissioning. In order to prove the decommissioning recyclable, it needs to be ISO 14001 certified. The company in charge needs to operate to the highest safety and environmental standards in cooperation with the world-class decontamination, disposal and recycling contractors. The last step is disposal. The corporation in charge is Radiation Safety Services, RSS. RSS oversees the decommissioning and disposal of equipment, instruments, and machines that were used for research with radioactive materials, contain silk sources, and generate radiation. That will be all for me. Thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad and I will be discussing regulations associated with decommissioning of a motor vehicle. I will be mentioning the three most significant regulations among the many. The first regulation will be the Road Transport Act 1987. No person shall possess or use a motor vehicle unless that vehicle is registered in accordance with the following: owned by and in the possession of a dealer for the purpose of sale, a motor vehicle that is being driven to or from any place specified by a road transport officer, and so on. Therefore, it is illegal to proceed with any dismantling procedures if the related documents of the motor vehicle procured from JPJ are not presented. The second regulation is certification from Royal Malaysian Customs Office. In order to dismantle end-of-life vehicles from different countries, the vehicle owner has to provide the import license or permit from relevant authorities to the dismantler before beginning the dismantling procedures. Lastly, the final regulation will be the Environmental Quality Regulation on Scheduled Waste that is created on 2005. All scheduled waste shall be disposed of at prescribed premises only. Scheduled waste shall, as far as practicable, be rendered innocuous prior to disposal. If found guilty, prison not exceeding 5 years and a maximum fine of 500,000 ringgit Malaysia could be enforced. That is all from me. I will now pass the floor to my next groupmate, Ong Yu Xuan.
Hi, my name is Ong Yu Xuan, and next off we're going to look at the financial budgeting for dismantling or scrapping a car. First off, we're going to assume the initial cost of a car to be around 75,000 ringgit. This has already taken account the fact that it's the present worth of the car. Next, we have the deregistration cost of a car. Drivers need to go to JPJ office or any branches to deregister their car when they want to decommission it. Next, we also have the dismantling or scrapping revenue. Drivers have two options. One is where they dismantle their car into several parts and sell them off individually. They can also choose to scrap their entire car altogether by just sending them to any car scrapping companies. Lastly, we have the waste management processing cost. This is where companies try to collect more cost in order to process their waste properly. In total, we have a car asset of around 70,750 on the credit side. Now, let's look at the risk management of decommissioning a car. First, failure of compliant vehicle disposal regulations. As we've seen just now, if we don't follow these regulations, we can get a fine amount of up to 500,000 ringgit and a prison time of up to 5 years. Thus, ensuring all regulations are followed by doing research beforehand or just finding a car decommissioning specialist to consult with is a must. Other than that, we also need to consider the fact that it might contaminate the environment. As we all know, vehicle contains toxic material and substances that will contaminate the environment. Thus, this should not be left alone and dumped at landfills. It's important to find decommissioning companies that uses eco-friendly car disposal process to not harm the environment.
Hi, I'm Amaro Ong, and I'll be talking about factors affecting decommissioning. So the first thing is condition. So the condition will affect the complexity of the decommissioning process. So for example, if the vehicle is no longer functioning, it will have to be specially transported to the disposal factory. Additionally, if the vehicle still has components in good condition, those can be recycled or sold in the second-hand market. Now, I previously mentioned disposal factory, so the location of the vehicle will also affect steps in decommissioning since the vehicle has to be brought to the disposal factory. If the vehicle is in a very far or inconvenient location, it might make it harder to decommission and incur additional costs. Next, talking about safety. So when decommissioning the vehicle must be safe to be transported and properly disposed where it can no longer be a hazard. This is to ensure that the decommissioning process does not harm individuals or the environment, as well as avoiding breaking regulations. Lastly, all the previous factors mentioned, such as condition, location, and safety, will lead to costs. So all the steps in decommissioning can add or save costs depending on the complexity. So the owner has to ensure that his budget is planned properly while decommissioning an asset. In conclusion, there are many steps and processes involved in decommissioning an asset like a vehicle, and one has to do proper research when doing so. That's it for our presentation, and thank you for watching.